If you are a Linux admin, there are times when you need to schedule jobs. And in this video, we're going to take a look at cron and anacron, which are time-based job scheduling daemons and come pre-installed in most of the Linux distribution. You can check if the cron is installed or not by typing apt-list cron on Ubuntu, and you can do apt-list anacron. So both are installed. You can also do apt-list show, apt-show cron. And if you're in Red Hat, you can do rpm-q cronny for the cron and cronny anacron for the anacron. And if your system does not come with the cron or anacron, you can install by using sudo yum install cronny and cronny anacron for the Red Hat. And for Ubuntu, you can do sudo apt get install cron and anacron. It's already installed on my system, so there's nothing to do. And if you see a package named cron-apt on Ubuntu and m-cron on Red Hat, there are different packages and are designed with the purpose of scheduling automatic system updates rather than checking them manually and updating the system. So they combine cron utility and the package manager together to automate the system updates. We're not talking about those packages today. We're talking about the job scheduler. And if you're using systemd environment, you can see the status of the daemons by using sudo systemctl status cron.service and sudo systemctl status anacron.service in Ubuntu. But in Red Hat, both are controlled by crond daemon. So you can do sudo systemctl status crond.service, and both are running in both distributions. You can also do sudo service cron status, same thing. And if the package is installed but not started automatically during the boot process, you can enable by doing sudo systemctl enable cron.service, and you can do the same for anacron too. So both cron and anacron are daemons that can schedule execution of recurring tasks. There are subtle differences. Cron jobs can run as often as every minute. However, it assumes that the system is running continuously, and if the system is not on at the time when a job is scheduled, the job will not be executed. But anacron remembers the scheduled jobs, and if the system is not running at that time when the job is scheduled, the job will then be executed as soon as the system is up. There are certain time delay that we have to define, which we'll talk later. However, the anacron can only run a job once a day, unlike cron. Now let's see how cron and anacron work. So anacron is a sub-package of cron, and they kind of work together. Both cron and anacron maintain jobs using a cron table, which is then read by crond daemon and executes the job. So cron is designed for the server, which will be running 24/7, but anacron is kind of designed for the desktop and laptop, and it does not expect the system to be running 24/7. And because of that, anacron has a configuration that prevents it to run if the computer is running on a battery. But if you want to allow anacron to run even if the computer is on battery, you can go to etc cron.hourly and 0 anacron file, and you can comment this section. Do not run jobs when on battery. So you can just comment it out from here, and then your job would be run even if the computer is on a battery. So cron has a /etc/crontab file, and anacron has /etc/anacrontab file. Those are for system-wide job scheduling, and they have their own format of defining things. So let's see anacron first. Let's log in as super user, because we need root level access to edit those files. And if you do nano etc anacron tab, you will see that there is certain syntax we have to follow to define a job in this file. So first is period in days. This value is defined in number of days and tells about how frequent the job should be executed. You can use an integer, and in some distribution you can use macro as well. In Ubuntu you can use 1 for 1 day, 7 for weekly, and monthly for monthly. But in Red Hat you can use daily, weekly, and monthly. Somehow the version that I have installed on Ubuntu does not support daily, macro, or weekly here. We can test it out. So the first column is period in days when you want to run it, and the second is delay in minutes. So this delay in minutes is how many minutes anacron needs to wait before executing the job after the machine restart. And our third item is job identifier, which is this for this job. So when we create a job with anacron, we should always have a job associated with a unique identifier. We can use this to see the log in the future. I'll show you later when we go in the real example. And the fourth field is actually a command that we want to execute as a part of the job. So in this example, it runs daily and 5 minutes delay after the system is started. So the cron.daily is the job identifier, and this is the exact job or the command it needs to run at that time. And this runs weekly after 25 minutes, and cron.weekly is the job identifier, and this is the command. And this is monthly, no matter how many days in the month, and 45 minutes delay, and this is the command that it runs. In this file, you can see other two variables, random delay and start hours range. So what this variable will do is this will start a job between 6 a.m. and 8 a.m. and there is additional 30 minutes delay added on this delay. This is if the system is up and running. Let's say the system never shut down and the job needs to start sometime of that day. So this is the hour that you can define. So on this particular case, the run will start between 6 a.m. and 8 a.m. and there's an additional 30 minutes delay on top of this delay that we define here. And if you want to run between any other hours, you can change this value. So if you do 3 and 22, so it will be between 3 a.m. and 10 p.m. So let's create one test script. Nano anacron.sh. We can just simply say echo hello, and let's write a file inside our home directory, hello.txt. So we're printing hello inside a file, hello.txt. Let's change the permission for this file. Let's try to run this file. Right now, we do not have any file. Hello.txt created, and there should be hello in there. Okay, so the script works. Now we can run this script with the Anacron. And for that, let's edit Anacron tab file. And if we want to run this job every day without any delay, we should do every day 1 tab 0 no delay, and we can give a job identifier anacron.test and the actual command. So bash space home directory anacron.sh. And I forgot to mention this before, but if the system is off during this period, this Anacron will not be executed, because when we define time, the system should be up during that time. So right now it is 12 a.m. So let's try something here. Let's do between 0 and 1 and delay of 3 minutes, and there is no delay here. So let's see if it runs. Let's save it. And this job identifier will be used to create a log file. So if we go inside var spool anacron, so these are the 3 job identifiers for already existing jobs there. These 3 identifiers, and when our job runs, this will create a new log file here. So this job can be run anytime between 12 a.m. and 1 a.m. and there is a 3 minutes delay. So let's see if it creates. Actually, we can remove this file and make sure that this job runs. So this hello.txt file is gone. And now if it creates this file, it would be through Anacron. And we can come back and check later, because now there's a window of 1 hour and I don't know when it executes that job. And if you want to run a job once in 3 days and with some delay, then what you need to do is here 3, and let's add 20 minutes delay. You can have another identifier, next job dot 3, for example, and your command here. So let's not save this one. And Anacron has this command you can use to verify if your syntax is right. So Anacron-t, it will check if there's any syntax error. And like I said before, Red Hat supports macro for the daily, weekly, and monthly. You can do daily here, no delay, another test, and let's run the same one. And this is the same line as this one. And if you do Anacron-t, there is no error. But if I made some error on purpose, let's do here and run file. And now it says there's an unknown syntax here. So we know that it works. So we can delete this line. But when I try to do the same thing on Ubuntu, it gave me error message. Looks like the version that I have on Ubuntu is not something that supports them. So if I do here, do daily 0 test, and let's do /bin//. We can create a script later. And let's exit, save. Okay, so it's working. Now, if we go and type anacron-t, it gives me error message because it does not recognize that macro. But if we do monthly, it works. And if we do 1 or 7, they both work. There you go. So let's see if it created a file. Not yet. Because if it did, it will actually create a file here. And the content of the file would be the last time the job ran. So this is the last time, 2021. June 26 was the last time this job was executed. We'll keep our eye into it. So this is pretty much it for Anacron. And now let's go and see the cron. And for the cron, you can use etc crontab file, but the easiest and the safest way would be to use the crontab command to edit cron tables. But in this video, we would see both ways of defining cron jobs. So first, let's try and add it on etc crontab file. And let's create another script. Change this a little bit. And you can see the name of the file should be cron, just to make sure this is created by cron. Okay, let's run this first. Okay, it created cron file. And remove that. So we'll run this script using cron. And if we go to crontab file, we will see the syntax of this file. And this is the syntax that we have to follow. So the first is the minute. So it should be between 0 and 59 for 60 minutes. So this is hour and should be between 0 and 23, like it mentioned here. This is the day of the month, should be between 1 and 31. And this is the month. So it could be 1, 2, 3, anything between 1 to 12. And this is the day of the week. So it could be between 0 to 6. So 0 is Sunday and 6 is Saturday. And this is the user who is going to run this command. And this is the actual command. So right now it is 12:24 a.m. and today is February 12, Saturday. So let's say if we want to run a job after 5 minutes or 4 minutes, which is 12:28 a.m. So we're going to do 28, which is the minute, and 12 is 0. And today is 12. So this is the day of the month, and our month is February, which is 2nd, and day of the week today is Saturday, so it's going to be 6. Let's run one using root cron.sh, and we'll run the same one. But this should be run by user Umesh, and we'll copy this script to user's home directory, the same script. X copy cron.sh to user Umesh home directory. So right now 28, so it should be running now. Not sure if we missed the window. We might have just missed the window. What we can do is we can edit the crontab file again. Just change the time a little bit and make it 30. You can do watch Alice. So after 30 seconds, it should create one file here called cron.txt, and hello should be the word in it. So it's refreshing every 2 seconds, and we should have, there you go. And we should have the same file on user's home directory as well. there's a message that we printed. And if you do long listing, you know that this file is created by root user because that's how we define in cron tab file. And if we do user Umesh home directory, I'm not sure why it didn't run. Did we do some mistake here? Oh, you know what? Since we copied, maybe this is not executable for a user Umesh. Let's see. Yep, there is no permission for Umesh to run this file. So what we can do is we can change the permission for other to execute that file. And we can change this a little bit and run after another minute. Let's do 32. And let's also run this one just to make it a little interesting. So now this cron text has one hello, and this script should append another hello after a minute. And in Umesh directory, it should create one file, cron.txt. Just did because it's 32 right now. And cat. So one hello. But if we read this file here, we should have two hello lines. There you go, because the script appended the hello on this file. And that's how you can run jobs using cron, using etc cron tab file. And if you do long listing Umesh, you will see that this file was created by user Umesh. Now, if we do which cron tab, so if we do long listing of this file, so this has set UID bit enabled. So that means any user who's running this command will be running as a root. So now instead of using etc cron tab file, we can use cron tab command to edit the cron jobs. And to do that, the command will be cron tab -e. So we are running this command as a root. So any job that you add here will be executed by the root automatically. So the syntax is same. Actually, let's delete that. Cron tab. We can comment it out so that it will not create a new file anymore. Cron tab -e, and we can do the same. So right now it's 35. So let's do 40 and 0, 1240. And 12 is the day, February, and Saturday. In this case, you don't have to give the username because we already know who user is running this file. So we can simply do script name. And you can use command cron tab space -l to see the job. So right now I can remove this file. So right now it's 36, but in 40, it should create another file, or we can change the date a little bit and cron tab -e again, change this date. So instead of 40, we can say 37 quickly. Now it created another cron tab. We deleted here, and there's another one, cat cron.txt. And if we see the timestamp of this file, it was created in 37. So this was the job that we defined using cron tab -e command. And when we use cron tab command to create a file, to create jobs, you can see those jobs inside var spool cron. And you will see different user profiles and the job for that user. So cat root, and this is the job for root user, cat Umesh. There's nothing for the Umesh. So as a root, we can do cron tab for user Umesh and edit. And we can say 40, 0, 12, 2, 6. And the command it should run is Umesh home directory and cron.sh. So we can remove this file. So there is no cron file now. Date is 39, and we can do cron tab -e for Umesh, list the job. So at 40, it should execute that job, and we should have something here. Now there you go. And if we go and check the spool for Anacron, so that job has not executed yet. And if you do switch user Umesh and go cron tab -e, then you will be editing the job as user Umesh. So that is the job we defined. And if you want to add or edit, you can do so. So there's a new cron.txt here. and the timestamp of that file should be 40. And if you want to remove a job, you can do cron tab space -r. But if you do -I, it will ask you before deleting the cron tab job. Yes, cron tab -l, no cron tab for Umesh. So that job is gone. And if you're into sudo user cron, that file is also gone, which was for the user Umesh cron tab profile. And you can also define which user can run cron tab and which user cannot run cron tab by creating a file inside etc. So let's say if this file is already there, cron.deny. Nobody is there, so no user will be denied. But let's say we want to add user Umesh here. So simply say Umesh, new line, Control D. Now let's switch user as Umesh. And now we want to add a cron tab job. You are not allowed to use this program, but let's go and create a file called cron.allow. So cat cron.allow, and we can add Umesh here. New line, save, switch Umesh, and cron tab -e. Now I can add a job. So what happens is if there's no file cron.deny or cron.allow, all the users will be allowed to run cron tab command and create a cron jobs. And if there's a cron.deny file and nothing is there, then also the same thing. But if there's an entry, that means that user will be denied. And if there's a cron.allow file and there's an entry, but both entry are for the same user, so cron.allow will override anything inside cron.deny and it will let user to execute that command. And if you want to deny everyone and allow only one user, what you can do is you can do cron.deny and you can go and delete this user, but say all, that will deny all the user. But since we already have Umesh in allow, Umesh can run cron tab command. And if I delete this entry from, if I remove Umesh from there, now if I go to Umesh, I should not be allowed to use cron tab anymore because everyone is denied and there is no user inside cron.allow file. And also this permission for this file should be readable for all users. Otherwise, nobody will be allowed to run cron tab unless this permission is fixed. It has to be readable by everyone or at least cron tab group. Otherwise, if this file exists and even if there is no content, everyone will be denied. Okay, this hasn't created yet, but I have tested it before and it works. So it might create anytime before 1 a.m. So it's still 12:46 a.m. here. And some versions of cron allows you to use shortcut macro like we saw in Anacorn. For example, you can use cron tab -e. So if you do 0 asterisk 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 asterisk, that means run every hour, beginning of every hour, every day, every week, no matter which day and month. So instead of this, what you can do is you can do hourly and then run the job, or daily instead of 0 0 asterisk asterisk asterisk. So this means every day, no matter which day of the month and which day of the week. And similarly weekly and monthly and yearly. I have compiled some cron example and the cron shortcut we just discussed here. I found this on the internet and it was very helpful. And there's some cron example as well. So this means run every minute. This means beginning of every hour. This means middle of every hour, so every 30 minutes. So instead of doing this two commands, you can do 0, 30. So this one schedule will work for both. And you can also do range. So every minute within the first 30 minutes, it will run. And this one is every 3 hours. So instead of doing 0 0 asterisk 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 and then 0 3 asterisk 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 and then 0 6 asterisk asterisk asterisk, you will do 0 asterisk and then 3 and so on. So you can see all this explanation and what these mean. It's a little confusing, but you don't need to do this every day. So once you calculate your time and day and you just define your job and you'll be done. On that shortcut, you can also do, if that cron supports, you can do @reboot and then define the command, and that command will be run when the system is started up after the reboot. So if those shortcuts are available, it can help to make it easier to interpret the schedule in your cron tab. So this way you can use the flexibility of cron utility and combine it with the shell script to automate many system administration related tasks. For example, you can write a shell script to clear the log files or create a system and data backup and upload them into your remote storage. And you can use cron tab or cron to automate the whole process using certain schedule. So this is it for this video, and I hope you like this video. Thanks for watching, and I hope to see you in my next video, and take care.